Okay, here. If this thing was 300 foot across, I have 100 foot here, 100 foot here, and 100 foot here. If it was 400 foot tall at the center, I have a 10-foot section of air, a 10-foot section of water, a 10-foot section of air. The same thing on the other side. At the very bottom, I have a 25-foot section of I have a 25-foot section or tube where this 10-foot section fits down inside of. At the bottom, I have like a 30-foot section of just a 30-foot section that slides down inside this 25-foot section. It's slid and like into a sliver, so when it slides down inside of it, water passes across the top and across the bottom. When it goes down, water goes across the top, okay, and water goes across the bottom. When it comes up, water goes across the top and across the bottom. As it goes up and down, water goes back and forth and back and forth. As it goes up and down, water goes back and forth. When it comes up, water goes here. When it goes down, water goes here. When it comes up, water goes back and forth. Now these sections here, there's a section of air and a section of air. I slide the ring down, water on the outside. When I slide the ring down, can't get in under the air. Over here, I slide the ring up, water on the outside of this air. There's 100 foot on the outside of this 100 foot of air. When I slide the ring up, water can get in under the air and the air will rise. Over here, I slide the ring down, water can't get in under the air and this air will fall. When this air falls, water here goes over here, and when the water here gets in under here, the liquid here comes over here and it comes down. Over here, I slide the ring up. When I slide the ring down, water can't get in under the air that falls. Over here, I slide the ring up, water gets in under the air and it comes up. So I have the weight of the falling water, I have the lift of the rising air. If you figured 100 foot across, 10 foot tall, all that weight of water over here, 100 foot across and 10 foot of rising air. All that way up maybe 300 or 400 foot. All that weight of rising air, all that weight of falling water. Perpetual energy. If this is 300 foot across by 300 foot, that's all the bigger it has to be. Two of them. You got to have two of them, so when one comes down, you got to have this going back and forth to get it to work. When one comes down, you got to have something going back and forth to get it to work. So it's perpetual energy using gravity. The same thing could work on a ship at sea. If you had a round cylinder on the ship at sea, you let water in here and sink it. When you sunk it, you could have a propeller below it. You let water in and you'd sink it. You'd have one of them at the back of the ship. You'd sink it and have the propeller running. When you got into harbor, you let the water out and raise it up out of the water and have it even with the bottom of the ship. You'd have this up above the ship and you go into harbor. There wouldn't be any water up in it. You go into the harbor and it'd be even with the bottom of the ship. When you got out in the ocean, you could lower it down 300 foot below the ship. You'd have this full of water. One side to come up, the other side to go down. You'd have all that energy. It may not be 300 foot across. Some ships are 300 foot across. It may be 25 or 50 foot across, the same dimensions. When one came up, the other came down. You'd still have power to run a ship, but they wouldn't have to take fuel with them. They could use gravity. You could lower it in the ocean, fill it full of water. Salt water may not be good. You have to keep the water with you and put it in the ship, but you raise it up out of the water or lower it in the water. Once you brought it up, you could get it into port. Once you got it into port, you still have to keep the fuel with you. It'd probably take less fuel. But once you got it, out on dry land, you generate electricity for cities. Like they got a building in New York City that's 1,000 stories tall.